In this video, you're going to learn how to make a grown man commit to you. Sorry, they're just so frustrating. So if you're dating a man who's in his 30s or 40s or older, and he pursued you in the beginning, but now he says that he's not ready for anything serious, then this is the video for you. Stay right here because you're going to learn my powerful new step-by-step plan that will have him begging for a relationship with you. And it's specifically designed for men in that age group. Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Antonio Borrello and I'm a psychologist and a relationship coach. This channel is all about helping you build great relationships so you can grow happy together. So hit subscribe, join our community, and you won't miss any of our videos focused on making your love life the best part of your life. So you're dating a man who's in the prime of his life. Again, he's in his 30s or 40s or older. Maybe he was married and is since divorced. Or perhaps he has always been single and has never been married. Whatever the case, he's a matured man who pursued you like he wanted a relationship, but now he tells you that he doesn't want anything serious and he's avoiding commitment at all costs. Well, here's the step-by-step plan that will have him begging you for a committed relationship in no time. Number 1, answer the 5 relationship time frame questions. The first step is for you to determine if your time frame for getting into a committed relationship is reasonable. After all, there's no universal time frame for knowing when the time is right to get more serious. So if this is a new situation, perhaps you've been dating for a few weeks or maybe a few months, who's to say when it's too early for a commitment? In other words, you might feel certain that you want to get more serious, but he might question if you're moving too fast. But these 5 questions will get you those answers. Number 1, have you seen him 5 or more times or been on at least 5 dates with him over the span of a month? In other words, have you spent time with him at least once weekly? Number 2, have you been physically intimate with him in a way that you normally reserve for when you are in a relationship? Number 3, are you acting like a couple? Do you spend non-date time with one another? Number 4, would you be devastated or hurt or very angry if you knew he went on a date with another woman yesterday? And number 5, do you find yourself thinking about him a lot? In other words, is he constantly popping up in your mind? If you've answered yes to number 1 and yes to at least one of the questions 2 through 5, then wanting to be in an exclusive relationship with him is completely understandable and reasonable. That means that you're not pushing too fast. Any woman in your situation would expect the same. So go on to number 2. Number 2, identify the problem. Next, identify which group your man falls into. Group 1, men who have been married and are now divorced, and Group 2, men who have never been married. Because their reasons for not wanting a serious relationship are often very different. For example, a man who was married for 10 years and went through a terrible and contentious divorce may be emotionally scarred from that relationship and is trying to avoid getting serious right now. On the other hand, a man who's in his late 30s or 40s who has never been married or even engaged is probably avoiding commitment for an entirely different reason. So I'm going to talk about these 2 situations separately because they are very different and will require very different approaches to turn things around and get him to commit or not. So let's start with the first group. Previously married men with emotional baggage. If this is his situation, then I have good news and bad news. The good news, you know that he's a man who is capable of getting into a committed long-term relationship. The bad news, it might take him some time before he's ready, especially if he was betrayed or really hurt by the divorce. Now, there are 2 important factors to consider. Number 1, how long has he been divorced? And number 2, has he been in any serious relationship post-divorce? Now, this is going to be controversial and may upset many of you watching, but here it is. I would be very cautious about trying to get into a serious relationship if a man has been divorced less than 1 year. And I would be very careful about being his first relationship after his divorce. If either of these 2 or both of these situations exist, my suggestion would be to reconsider dating him. It's very likely that the relationship will not work out. And that's a topic for another video. Trust me, I've seen hundreds of women and men who were terribly hurt when they got into a relationship or started dating someone who just got divorced. In fact, I know of only one situation where it actually worked out and they got married, but they're now divorced too. On the other hand, if he's been divorced a few years and you're not the first person he's dated, then your chances of getting him to commit are much higher. Now, I'm going to explain how to do this in just a moment, but first, let's talk about men in their 30s or 40s or older who have never been married. So, middle-aged men single and never married. If your middle-aged man is charming and handsome and successful and claims that he wants to be married and have a family, but he just hasn't found the one, then this is the part of the video that you really need to pay attention to. You see, if a man claims that he wants to have a family and has the financial means to be married, yet he's still single in his 40s or 50s or older, then it's very likely that he has an avoidant attachment style, and that has kept him single. An avoidant attachment style is characterized by emotional unavailability, fear of others getting too close, and preoccupation with self-sufficiency and independence. Understanding this attachment style can mean the difference between having a loving and supportive committed relationship or remaining frustrated by his lack of commitment and a dead-end relationship. But let's talk about how you can help him to turn things around. And this is where it gets interesting and more difficult. That's because men with avoidant attachment styles are often unaware of their need for distance and separateness. When they are in a relationship and they feel the need to get away, they often assume that it's because they aren't as attracted to their partner or their partner is really not the one. They have an unrealistically romantic view of what a relationship should be like. So rather than seeking greater insight into their own attachment system, they assume that they've been unlucky in love and maintain the belief that when they finally meet the one, their need for independence and distance will magically disappear. And as you can imagine, this results in them finding themselves in one failed relationship after the other, repeating the same cycle again and again, eventually becoming the 50 or 60 or 70-year-old charming, successful, attractive bachelor that never got married or had children. Now, here's the good news and the bad news. If you're in a long-term relationship with an avoidant partner, there is hope that the two of you can turn things around and achieve a more secure and satisfying relationship for both of you. Now, obviously, that starts with having a partner who is open to educating himself about attachment theory and how it affects his personal relationships. There are plenty of great books on this topic and many great therapists that could help you to navigate a healthy and secure relationship. On the other hand, if you are in a newer relationship or in a relationship with an avoidant man who lacks insight and refuses to educate himself, you're setting yourself up for more of the same for months or years to come. Ultimately, you have opposing attachment and intimacy needs and are bound for more dissatisfaction and heartbreak. In that case, perhaps it's better to put your self-love and self-respect above your feelings and walk away. You can click the card above to watch the video I made that further explains this attachment style. Building trust with a previously married man. If you're dating a man who has been scarred from a previous relationship, he's probably going to need some extra time to trust that he can share his world with you. And I know many women believe that a man will not commit because he's afraid of getting hurt again. But I don't think that that's the main reason. Actually, if a man went through a difficult divorce, the biggest challenge to getting him to commit is probably his fear of being controlled again, or that a committed relationship equals conflict and lots of compromising. And for that reason, I want you to make a conscious decision that you're going to stop thinking about and talking about commitment for now. And there are two reasons for this. Number one, this usually isn't an issue that gets resolved in one day. And number two, handling this situation in the wrong way will usually backfire and make your situation worse. So I want you to establish a time frame of 6 to 8 weeks or so where you're just going to date and enjoy your time together, but without talking about the relationship or commitment. Relationships are all about timing. So if this is a relatively new situation, perhaps he just needs a little more time to be sure. Waiting and giving him that time to make a decision has some very important benefits. First, it shows him that you respect his decision-making process. It shows him that he's worth the wait, and it allows him to develop a deeper connection with you. And that might be exactly what he needs. So, during the time frame that you've established, you have to stop talking about commitment. If you've already had the discussion and you're on different pages of the book, further discussing or trying to convince him of your point of view will make things worse. The more you talk about it, the more pressure he will feel, and that's not a good thing. He knows what you want, and every time you bring it up, he pulls further and further away from you. If you really want this guy to finally commit to being in an exclusive relationship, you need to stop bringing up anything to do with the future or with the relationship altogether, just for a little while. And in the meantime, I want you to focus on getting him emotionally attached to him. Watch this video to learn how to do that. Or if you think your man might have an avoidant attachment style, click here to find out what to do. I'll see you in the next video.